All right. Rebuilding the Philadelphia Eagles tight end core. This is a tough one because it's been a relative strength of ours for a few years. We've seen the evolution of the Eagles becoming a dominant 12-man personnel to the likes of probably the only other time we've watched this happen in the modern football era was with the early 2011, 2012 kind of seasons of New England. But all things come to an end, guys. And right now we have a $60-some million over the cap estimate for 2021. And we know some guys are going to be gone. And this is likely going to impact the tight end room. All right, y'all. Let's talk. What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is you get around to watching this. Once again, guys, my name is Stephen Hyder, and this is Gate City Sports Channel. All right, y'all, today's topic, guys. We're talking about this tight end room. It's going to be a lot different. We are already seeing, as the season goes on, some very big differences in terms of the personnel grouping frequencies, right? We are minimizing our usage of 12-man and really increasing that usage of 3 wide receiver sets like 11-man personnel. It's going to impact the construction of the roster because the simple fact remains, no matter how we want to shape this, how we want to cut this, guys, we have very cheap talent at the wide receiver position right now, and we have pretty much going to become expensive talent at the tight end position in 2 players. That leads to reconstruction normally, guys. So, without further ado, guys, let's talk about reshaping, remaking, redoing this roster at the tight end position. The first player up is probably the most important player up to talk about, which is probably a good reason why we're having the conversation. It's Zach Ertz. Here's the thing. I'm a huge Zach Ertz guy. I like Zach Ertz a lot, okay? His game is limited in some ways, but man, those limitations when he's on the money, they don't matter because he's so good at what he does. With that said, guys, he's approaching the age of 30, and we've seen the production due to injury, due to scheme things happening. It's not just talent here. It's not like a big diminishing in his talent. There's a lot going on with the scheme, needing him to stay in and block. There was a lot of lack of weapons around him until we started getting guys emerging. Like, there's a lot that went into this. But nonetheless, here you have a year where you're asking for more money and the conversations are getting heated. And the production is now dropping. And here are just the basic facts about Zach Ertz's contract, guys. There's no guaranteed money on this contract anymore. Okay? The dead cap is almost even. It's a very minimal effect right now. If he were to be traded, it almost pretty much would be in our favor. But even if he's released, you're looking at maybe $1 million in dead money there. And in the following year, you're going to get a cap savings because the dead money's only $7,769,000 basically, okay? His cap total, like his cap numbers for the next couple of years are like $12 million, guys. Roughly $12 million. It's a little more than 12, but it's, $12.5 million. His base salary for this year is $6.66 million. His base salary for the next year is $8.25 million. But as I stated, there's no guaranteed money on that contract. Meaning, you get injured, you're very susceptible to a large pay decrease with anything happening. You can see why the guaranteed money was probably a big sticking point for Zach Ertz with Howie Roseman. There's a whole lot going on behind the scenes of this one, guys, to where I think Zach Ertz feels disrespected by Howie Roseman because let's be real, Zach made probably some really bad financial decisions to restructure his contract several times to get other guys like Carson Wentz and some other players under contract with the promise that, hey, when it comes back around for your third contract, we're going to really take care of you. Well, what Howie meant by take care of you and what Zach perceived that to mean, they're clearly completely different perspectives on what those words meant. Okay? I hate it for Zach because these things happen in business negotiations. You made a mistake, my guy. You made a big mistake. You should have capitalized while you were good and while the money was right. let's get into some of the analytics on this. Now, I want to bring up two different types of analytics that you have to kind of know for today's conversation, because there's very few analytics you can judge these guys by because the amount of snaps they have. So, unfortunately, you can't go to next-gen stats for the majority of these guys. Only Zach Ertz appears there because the rest of the guys just don't have enough targets yet to be on next-gen stats. So, today I'm going to talk to you about DYAR, which is Defense Adjusted Yards Above Replacement. Let me explain this for you for a second. What this means is, it's measured in yardage. So overall on the season, your production, if you were to, they're judging it based upon your competition, the level of competition, how good the defense is, right? And the difficulty of the play, okay? Among some other factors, right? And they're saying if we were to replace, can we replace your production? How easy would it be to replace your production, either with an immediate replacement, as in another tight end, or wide receiver, running back, so forth, okay? So that's DYAR. Then you got DVOA. So your DVOA, like, we use DVOA a lot for defenses. That is your defense adjusted value over average, right? So DYAR is like your totals. DVOA is individual play totals, right? So DVOA, the easiest example they always give for DVOA guys to understand it is a running back gains 3 yards. But what was the defense they were playing? So how good was the run defense they were playing? How good was the overall defense they were playing? And then on top of that, was it 3rd and 3 when you gained 3 yards, or was it 3rd and 15 when you gained 3 yards? You get what I'm saying here, guys? So that's DYAR and DVOA. Zach, and look, these things are skewed because there's not that many targets. Like, Zach hasn't had that many targets yet, really, on the year. But his DYAR was a negative 102, negative 102 yards, meaning they felt like the majority of Zach Ertz yards could be replaced. And we all know that Zach's been a little more dink and dunk this season than he's been traditionally, right? He's been a little more closer to the line of scrimmage because of Goedert going down, because of needing to help protect the offensive line. There just hasn't been that much development downfield for Zach Ertz. And then there have been opportunities, but Ertz either didn't make a great enough play on the ball, and there's been some cases where, let's be honest, Wentz missed him by a mile. So his DYAR numbers are just atrocious, guys, at 102. His DVOA, well, the 102 ranks 42 out of 42 tight ends measured. I should note that. 42 out of 42 tight ends measured. His DVOA is negative 39.8%. So that, just rough numbers here is 40 out of 42 tight ends. These are not spectacular numbers. Obviously, there's been some struggles this season with the offense, and it is translating to Zach Ertz. What I will say is this. Nobody outside of Richard Rodgers, when we look at these numbers, is looking very great. But I do want to get into a deeper conversation about Zach Ertz and those limitations I brought up to you. So here's the thing with Zach Ertz. He's a very athletic wide tight end, okay? A lot of people focused on his 40 time and made way too big about the 40 time. He ended up running a much better 40 time at your pro day. We all know that the pro day, hand timer, so the numbers are going to be a little skewed. And to be honest with you, pro days are kind of funny. If you guys ever want to get a laugh, look at the measurements from pro days and then compare them from the measurements from the combine on things like your hand size, your arm length, your wingspan. Those things shouldn't change. There's no way. Maybe your wingspan could be changing depending on, your chest or something, like what you're doing. But come on, man. I don't think that the amount of time from the time that you have the combine to the time that you have your pro day should be causing great differences in wingspan, hand size, or arm length. It doesn't make any sense. So just a note on that. But what I will say is some people make too big a deal because a look at these things, what they leave out is the fact that Zach ran a 7.08 3 cone and he ran a 4.47 20-yard shuttle, which are pretty decent numbers for a tight end. Alluding to the fact that he's a pretty good wide tight end. He's a guy that you can kind of play as one of these kind of weird in-between wide receiver tight ends, right? A hybrid, Josh Perkins, those type of things, right? So the issue I have with Zach Ertz is when you get into the physical measurements, right? I mean, arm length, 31.68 length, right? A little short for me, man. You got to be above 32 inches, and I prefer you to be about 33 inches in your arm length, to be quite honest, because playing tight end, you're going to be in contested catches. You know what I mean? Zach Ertz is using his route running and stuff like that to not have to depend upon that so much, but when it has to happen, DBs can get in there and get the ball away from him. Hand size, 9.68 on the hand size. I think it's kind of funny because I think when I went back and looked, his hand size increased on his pro day, which makes no sense to me, guys. But, I mean, anything over 9.5 is going to be perfectly fine, man. I mean, These are big human beings. And then his wingspan. This is the part that bothers me, guys, is your wingspan and your arm length have a lot to do with catch radius. 76.25. This guy is 6'5" with only a 76-inch wingspan. Guys, that's why he struggles in certain aspects of things, okay? And we can see these things play out. I mean, I'll give you some of the hard-line numbers from Zach Ertz. So, look at his cushion. 5.8 yards. Now, on average, defensive backs are giving him almost 6 yards cushion, right? Because Zach is a, number one, he's being left in to block a little bit, so it's probably creating some of the cushion that happens. But number two, they do respect his route running ability, so they back off of him a little bit. Separation, 2.7 yards. So, I mean, he separates at a fairly decent rate. Targeted air yards, 7.3 yards. That's coming down. He didn't used to be that far down. It's coming down. Catch percent, right? So he's got 45 targets on the year, 24 receptions for 53.33%. Nothing to write home about there, guys. It's not very good, guys. And then his yards after the catch per reception is about 2. And then his expected yards after, receptions, yards after contact, basically, per reception is 2.6. Lack of a wingspan, lack of a catch radius, right? 53% catch rate right now, okay? And this hasn't been tradition with him. He's been able to use his route running to have, 60, 65% catch rates normally. But we can see, like, he can't get yak. He's just not a yak guy. He doesn't have the physical strength to do that. It's not part of his game. He's more of a you hit him in stride type receiver, right? All those things kind of play out here, guys. They all kind of play out with Zach Ertz. All right. Number 2 guy I want to talk about. Let's talk about Dallas Goedert, man. He just has not had a lot of snaps on the season. He got injured pretty early on. He's only had 18 attempts on the season, so keep that in mind when we're looking at these numbers. To me, these numbers are all fine and dandy, but they don't tell you, like when you're looking at, another tight end could have made that catch, right? Or another receiver could have made that catch, right? So we're not going to grade. Well, right, but what you're failing is if a guy runs a good enough route, he's going to be wide open. So those kind of things get left out of these guys. So just take everything with a grain of salt here. All right, Dallas Goedert, DYAR, -6. It's 33rd out of 42 tight ends. Okay, -6. And then when we look at his DVOA, that is -12.5, which is 34th out of 42 tight ends. Not the greatest in the world, but a lot of this has to do with the way the season's going, and the minimal amount of attempts are going to affect you either in a positive or a negative way. So, like, if you've had a couple of spectacular catches, it's going to look really good if there's only been a few targets. And you can have enough targets to get graded on this, okay? Physical measurements for Dallas Goedert, because there's something I do want to talk about with Dallas Goedert, which is I do think Dallas Goedert does have the ability. If we sit still and we really watch this, I think Dallas Goedert has the ability to become possibly a wide tight end if necessary because of his physical gifts, right? 76.63 inches when he measured in at, so 6'4", just under 6'5". You can round him up to 6'5" safely. 256 pounds, prototypical tight end size, right? 32.88 arm length, his length, so almost 33-inch arm length, which is pretty good for a tight end. It's definitely guys with better arm lengths, but he's in the requisite area of it. He's got an 80.125 wingspan, over that 80-inch wingspan. You guys know that's a big marker for me. It means he can present to you a large catch radius. His hand size is kind of funny because he's only got 9.25-inch hands, so that was a little shocking to see. But then when they went to his pro day, guys, I swear to God, he went from 9.25 at the scouting combine to 10 inches. I don't know, guys. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do with that, right? At the pro day, these are pro day numbers, so let's keep that in mind, guys. 20-yard shuttle, 4.31, 7.02 3 cones. Obviously, those are hand timers. They're going to be a little off, but those are still pretty good numbers, even if you have to add a fifth of a tenth of a second there. Those are really good numbers, which would lead me to believe he has the size and the physical abilities to be an F tight end, which he's been for Philly, that movement tight end, that guy that can be a wing back that can block. He can hit those short routes and get the yak, all that kind of stuff, right? But he also has the athletic profile here, clearly, to play wide tight end if you need him to. Which that's encouraging. He's got to develop his route running more. I don't think he's the Zach Ertz level of a route runner. And he doesn't need to be Zach Ertz level of a route runner to be very successful there, but because he's got a better wingspan, guys. But, we need some improvement there. But he could be a wide tight end in the future here. All right, y'all. Number 3. This is a guy I think is emerging, and there's some concerns here. But Richard Rodgers, let's talk about him. DYAR on the season, 38. 38. Positive 38. He's the first positive here. Number 11 out of 42 tight ends. Okay? DVOA, 25.7%. Positive 25.7%, guys, which is number 8 out of 42 tight ends. Richard Rodgers is having a pretty good year so far. He's only got 18 attempts, just like Goddard only had 18 attempts. I'm excited to see more Richard Rodgers play because I like the prospect of what this kid is. He's very similar in physical stature to Dallas Goedert, right? When you go and look at him, 76 inches, right? So 6'4". Just Dallas Goedert's a little taller, but right around the same exact size almost, right? 257 pounds. Very, very Dallas Goedert-like, right? Arm length, 32.63 is his reach, 32 inches, 0.63. Hand size, he's got over 10-inch hands, 10.13. Wingspan, 80 inches. He's got that big wingspan. He's got those big hands. He's got an appropriate arm length, guys. Like, he's a guy that gives you a catch radius, right? We can look into his 3-cone drill. I mean, they're not spectacular numbers because he's an F tight end. 7.31 3-cone, 4.6 320-yard shuttle. You know, those aren't world-beater numbers, but I do think that Richard Rodgers could, if you got to keep Richard Rodgers healthy, man. His issue in Philly has been health. If this kid is healthy, I think he's proven why the organization was so high on him. He can play. He's just got to be healthy. But now you can have a Richard Rodgers as a movement piece, right? You could still use Dallas Goedert in that role too, but now you got guys like Dallas Goedert that can play a wide tight end at times too. So I like what I'm seeing from Richard Rodgers. This is a guy that I think has to become a part of the room. I think if you're going to move on from Ertz, which is a very much a likelihood at this point, then you know the next move here, guys, is Richard Rodgers is going to get elevated and Dallas Goedert's there, and we're probably searching for that third tight end. I would prefer a wide tight end to come in, but we'll see. Next guy I want to talk about, Jason Croom. Jason Croom, crazy athletic guy here. He was converted at the University of Tennessee from a wide receiver to a tight end. And the kid came into the combine and he showed up tight end ready, 76 and a quarter inch in the height, 6'4", 252 pounds. He's got that Zach Ertz very much wide tight end build to him. 80.25 inch wingspan. So he's got that bigger wingspan for a wide tight end. So that's always good, guys. 9.63 hand measurement. He's got those big bear claws. And then, look, man, his arm length, I think it's a little up in the air from what I've seen on the arm length, guys. So I'm not going to report anything just because I don't trust the numbers that I'm seeing there because they're mostly coming from pro day stuff. So that can get a little skewed, so I'll leave that off. But let's take a look at his physical measurements, okay, in terms of athletic profile. This kid ran a 4.69 40 at his pro day. So he's right around Zach Ertz's speed. And there's some film of this kid to where, most people know him for this play.
Wentz looking, didn't have anything initially. Rifles.
But you really and honestly should probably more so know him for a play that gets unrecognized. For a play to which it didn't work out. They didn't get the ball down the field, but man, he opened up the middle of the field there because he's a great route runner. That's just the truth to it. But look, 4.69 40, 4.4 20-yard shuttle, 7.33 3-cone. This kid's got the athletic profile to be pretty good. Those are all pro day results, okay? I don't know if he just wasn't available for workouts during the combine or what happened that year, but those are all pro day results. He's got the athletic profile, guys, to be a wide tight end. Look, appropriate, he's got the 80-inch wingspan. I mean, he gives you a large catch radius. This kid's fast. His numbers aren't great, guys. In 2018, he only had 35 attempts. Let's keep that in mind for the entire season. We're basing these numbers off of 35 attempts. But his DYAR was negative 27, and his DVOA was negative 19.5. He was also a rookie. So, I would keep this in mind. And like I said, if you're a good enough route runner, your DYAR and your DVOA probably won't be that impressive because you're going to gain enough separation to make the throws easy for your quarterback. So you're not going to be graded that high on things like that. These are the guys I would focus on. The last guy that I would even consider in this conversation of the tight end room, I'll give you one more here. Hakeem Butler. He's a convert. This is a guy we're converting at the NFL level from a wide receiver to a tight end. He came in, measured at 77 inches, 6'5", 77.63, almost 6'6", 227 pounds, 35 and a quarter arm length. This kid's got tremendously, tremendous reach here. 10 and 3/4 hand size, big paws. He's got a 83.875 inch wingspan. This kid's a freaking aircraft carrier, man. Hey, this kid can play. He's fast, too. He put up some good numbers, man. Combine, he ran a 4.48 at the combine for as big as this kid is, man. That's very, 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 very much like eerily similar to a Devontae Parker. He put up, he put up a 3-cone at 7.09. He put up his 3-cone at 7.09 during his pro day, and his 20-yard shuttle was 4.16. This kid would be a prototypical wide tight end in the NFL if you're going to move him and convert him to a wide tight end. Or to a tight end. He'd be a wide tight end, in my opinion. Interesting, man. He's an interesting prospect. I do think that the one play we saw from Butler, he's got some work to do as a receiver, right? This kid was very good in college at the high point. He was very good at the fades and all those things. He was interfered with. There was a penalty on this, but he's got to learn how to fight through and try to get that football to sell it, so that way he gets the flag. I don't think he gave maximum effort there, but I mean, he's, first kind of play doing that kind of thing. Like, I could give this kid some leeway on that. He's going to grow. He's going to get better.
I don't know what the probability is here, but and here we go. Tight end was wide open at the start of the play.
But those are the guys. These are the candidates to rebuild the entire tight end roster. All right, guys, let's talk for a second here. I think the Eagles should start carrying 3 tight ends again. We don't want a repeat of losing a guy trying to get him on the practice squad like we did this year. I think that was a big mistake. So, I'll be honest with you guys. I think we've seen the last dance for Zach Ertz. I already made a video on this. I think Zach Ertz's time is coming to an end, and I like Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz has been one of the all-time great Philadelphia Eagles guys. It's not with any kind of glee that I say things like that. I'm just following the numbers, guys, the contracts, and then looking at how you build the roster. I think if you can keep Richard Rodgers healthy, that's your number 2 tight end. Dallas Goedert is going to be your primary target. Richard Rodgers will be your number 2. The real question becomes, do we have anything in Jason Croom or Hakeem Butler? Can either of these 2 guys develop? I really like the athleticism from Jason Croom. Jason Croom has definitely showed a very good profile when it comes to route running, the overall athleticism of the kid. The fact that he did play some tight end in college is definitely a big help. I would keep your eyes open on Jason Croom, guys. Hakeem Butler is a much larger project. It's a kid I would love to see get an opportunity. We'll see how he kind of keeps developing throughout the season, but I do think he's back of these guys a little bit. Although the kid's, you look at the physical measurements of this kid, he's fast, he's big. You know what I'm saying? He gives you hope that, man, if you can just put 10 pounds on this kid, get him up close to 235, 240, boy, he could be a Jimmy Graham type kind of tight end out there. He's not going to be Jimmy Graham's weight, but he can have the athletic profile of Jimmy Graham. So, what are your thoughts, guys? What do you think about reconstructing this tight end roster? Where do you guys fall on how you would reconstruct this roster right now? I think that maybe you kind of keep your eye to the draft. I'm not saying don't draft somebody, but I wouldn't overextend myself on drafting a tight end. I do think we kind of have some pieces here. With that said, I'm also, like I said, if you can find a really good value between rounds 3 to 5, and there's a guy kind of just sitting around there between those rounds, and you're like, this kid might have something. Hey, I completely understand that move. I do think that there's way more pressing needs, though. You know what I mean? I think our wide receiver group's good enough that it's going to carry us to where the tight end group won't be quite as important anymore. But nonetheless, I do like what we have in the room right now. Even without Zach Ertz, I really do like what we have in the room. I have no fear if Ertz and Goedert can't play this weekend. I trust Rodgers, and I think Croom could possibly do something. So, these are my thoughts. I don't know what you guys think, guys. What do you think about reconstructing this roster? Leave your comments down below, guys. And you know how we end these videos. We do a little E-A-G-L-E-S. All right, y'all.